Hello everyone. In our first class we practiced drawing neurographic line. I hope you had plenty of practice and now we're ready to start doing some shapes and having fun with it. So remember we did all this neurographic lines. I'm just going to continue right here, and today I'm going to talk about three shapes. So we have a neurographic line, which is considered one of the shapes, but then we have our square, we have a circle, and we have a triangle. And what happens is that these are the archetypal forms. They signify certain thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but don't sort of overthink the concept too much. This is just to appeal to a logical mind. So usually the circle is harmony and a feminine principle and sort of the completion and whatever other things. Just think about what the circle means to you, because it will make much more sense when you think about it for yourself instead of me providing certain answers. Because when you will be drawing your neurographic drawing, it will make sense to you and to your psyche. But going back to the shapes, the triangle is it has sharp corners, right? So it sort of signifies pretty strong emotions. Sometimes it can signify a conflict, it can signify something that is unresolved sometimes. So you can use it in your drawing as well. And then it adds energy as well. And then the square signifies usually stability. It's a proper form, you kind of rely on it, and it's more of a masculine symbol. Now, just think about that for a second, and let's continue with the second step of the neurographic drawing. Once you practice drawing the lines, like so, we're going to start learning another principle of the neurographic drawing. What happens when you connect or crisscross the lines between each other? So what happens is that this corners right here create angles, and in neurographic drawing we don't want to see really any sharp corners, any angles as such. So what we do, I'm going to demonstrate right here, sort of on a bigger scale, we are doing the smoothing of the angles. Even if it's not too sharp of an angle, we're still doing this thing, okay? And that's where we can go over the line again to sort of thicken it. And this is where we're just having fun with the picture. We don't really think about it too much. We sort of absent-mindedly sometimes can just go over the lines again and again and again. Now, when we're drawing these lines, we're just following. Remember how I said we're kind of going in the opposite direction of where we want to go, but also don't overthink it too much. So if you feel like drawing a line here or a line there, just go for it. Because remember, it's also about being creative, and it's not so much about over-analyzing things. So again, here we have an angle, so we're gonna soften that. And here's another one. And that's what we're doing. So pretty much, if you're doing it like kind of in a straight thing, the idea is to make it round, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. Just have to be sort of rounded, and that allows to soften certain conflicts in our own psyche. And remember, our psychology goes back to the times, it's like very, very ancient. Even though we like to think of ourselves as very logical creatures, the neocortex is really quite young. It's super young compared to the rest of the brain. So when you look at the brain, we have the limbic system, which is the reptilian brain. This is the instincts, this is the fears, this is all kinds of things that are really instinctive, and you can't always control what's happening here. Then you have more of the cortex, and then the neocortex is actually, well, I drew it here in a very sort of not proportionate way how it really is, but some scientists say that neocortex looks like a thin sheet of the napkin compared to the rest of the structures in the brain. So this is where our rational and logical thought processes happen. This is how consciousness resides. And people think, oh, I'm rational and I'm logical and I can will myself into doing anything. But then people hit the blocks with terms of law. Why can't I keep up with the discipline? Why can't I keep up with whatever I set my mind to do? It's good for me. I know it's good for me, but I just can't force myself. That happens because of the stuff happening here with the rest of the brain, all the instincts, all the sort of reptilian, sort of instinctual, just lie down and don't do anything. There's plenty of food. We need to relax because that's what we're gonna do. And you can't always overpower this part, right? But you can learn how to work with it. You can learn how to manage it. You can make friends with it. And so when you look at the drawings that our ancestors did, like right before going, for instance, for hunting, they would draw a painting of a successful hunt. And in that way, they were kind of priming their minds. So this is the bull that they're going to hunt, right? They were priming their minds and setting themselves up for success. So they would draw themselves hunting this big mammoth, for instance, and their minds will be primed. So this right here would know what's expected of it and thus create the reality that we want to experience in our lives. So it's very fascinating. But going back to our neurographic drawing, for today's class, I encourage you to practice crossing the lines and smoothing the angles. It's pretty simple. And we're going to introduce the shapes in the next class into our drawing, and I'll show you what to do with it so that you're going to start creating some very interesting shapes and formations. I'll see you in the next class.